Hello, Commander29 here with another Topic of the Week video. This week, I'll talk about the DC Trinity. This message was sent in by a Tumblr anon. What is your favorite aspects of Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman? And what is it about the DC Trinity that makes them work so well together? That makes them work so well as friends / surrogate family / teammates? Yay. Now I'll talk about them individually, and then I'll talk about them as a trio after that. First, I want to start with Batman, since I love Batman. Batman is literally my favorite superhero ever of all time, and he has been since I was a kid. You honestly should have seen me as a kid when I was watching Batman the Animated Series. I was obsessed. But what I love about Batman, and what I've always loved about Batman, is that Bruce Wayne has no powers. He doesn't have any alien tech. He doesn't have, not that he doesn't have alien tech, but he wasn't gifted alien tech. He wasn't given some sort of grand destiny. He wasn't given, given abilities. He is, in his entirety, a self-made hero. The tech, sure, yeah, he's filthy stinking rich. Bruce Wayne has billions of dollars, so he can afford, to make all this cool equipment for Batman. But his detective skills, his martial arts skills, all this training, his decade of training, all that was him. He worked hard, and he became one of the world's greatest heroes because he was dedicated and he trained. And I have always, ever since I was a kid, I have admired and respected that. I just, and it's, this is one of the reasons why Batman, struck out to me. He's not like Batman, Batman is not like Superman. He's not like Wonder Woman. He's not like Martian Manhunter. He's not like, Hawk Girl or something. He doesn't have any innate abilities. He is a human who happens to have trained a very long time to become very good at what he does. And it's always resonated with me that, you don't have to be born with any powers to do good. And, he turns the trauma he experienced as a child into his driving force to help other people. He may be a vigilante, he may beat the crap out of villains and criminals, but he's doing it to help people, and his goal is so that no 8-year-old child ever has to watch their parents be shot in front of them. No child ever has to go through that again. And people always boil Batman down to I hate criminals, and it's really not about that. He hates criminals because of what they've done to people, and because of what they've done to him. And he never wants anyone to go through that again. And all that resonates. I love that so much. In that he is a normal human who became great. And he's considered to be on par with Superman and Wonder Woman. Maybe not in physical strength. Oops. But, he's still considered one of the world's best heroes. And I've always loved that and respected that. Superman, I'm not as big of a fan of Superman and Wonder Woman. But one thing I really liked about Superman represents a paragon. He is supposed to be a role model that we look up to. This is one of the reasons why writing him as a dark hero doesn't work. That's not what Superman's supposed to be. One of my favorite aspects about Superman is his, he is someone who is, excuse me, don't know where that came from. Superman was given these powers. He grew up having these incredible powers, incredible strength, and pretty much invincibility, laser eyes, ice breath, X-ray vision. He has all these powers, and he uses them to help people. He could very easily be a supervillain. We've seen villains with great powers. Superman represents what we aspire to be. He is something, and this is one of the, I'll talk about this more once I talk about them as, in their relationships. This is one of the reasons why Clark and Bruce work well together so well, is because they represent two different sides. They, you have the optimism versus the cynicism, and Batman's cynicism is born out of reality. It's realism. He lives in Gotham freaking City. Very few people live there and aren't at least somewhat cynical. And then you have Clark, and Bruce lived with his parents. He was an orphan. And then you have Clark being raised by his loving parents. And Clark represents something that, he represents the good that we can be. He helps people because he wants to do good. He was raised to do good, and that's so admirable. And some people's like, Superman is boring. Well, Superman is a good guy. Superman is a Boy Scout, and he's meant to be that way. He's not meant to be a character that we super relate to. He's not a character who goes through, great trauma and death and destruction and, is broken to a mess of a man. No. He's not. That's not. He's someone who perseveres. The last son of Krypton perseveres to do good because he wants to help people. And that to me is my favorite aspect of Superman. Wonder Woman is kind of different since she's not part of, traditional Earth culture. She's an Amazon. She's very much, the warrior. She's someone who is, more thoughtful on fighting than others. But she still is, she still is morally upstanding. She does good and she helps people. And, and that's something that's the best aspect out of each of them is they want to help people. Wonder Woman has these great powers, and depending on the continuity, different equipment, invisible jet, because that's what Amazons get. The lasso of truth, and she does have great strength and durability, because she's an Amazon. And she uses, and it's like Superman, she uses these powers to help people. She's not going to see someone suffer, she's going to fight for justice. And each of them, in their own ways, bring forth the desire to help people. And this is why they are the Trinity. No, and apart from being, some of the oldest superheroes. But that's besides the point here. They each, also a lot of superheroes want to help people. But each of them represent a pinnacle in that, in a different way. Batman was he experienced pain, and he helps people so that it doesn't happen to others. Clark was raised to do good. You are, you have, if you can help someone, help someone. Mom and Pa can't taught him, they raised him good. They raised him to be a good man. Diana fights for justice. She fights. I admit though I'm less well versed on Wonder Woman, and there's also the fact that Wonder Woman's continuities each have radically different change ups. But she's someone who will fight for justice and truth, and she's doing that because it's right. And each of them fight for what's right and fight for good and fight to help people. And that's what makes them so great as, individuals. Now, as, teammates, surrogate family, I love the Trinity because you have three people from three very different lives. You have the cynical, orphaned billionaire. You have the good old Boy Scout farm boy. And you have the Amazon who came, to, I don't know. Amazons are, it came from, is it the Mascura? Is it the Mascura that she's from? I can look this up. Oh, no. I don't want theme song lyrics. Themyscira. I believe she's from Themyscira. I'm trying to remember. Like I said, I'm not as well versed with Wonder Woman as I am with the others. Paradise Island. Yeah, Themyscira. I was right. When you have each of these characters, and this is actually something that I talked about with Angelin, with her, with the whole Luke, Han, Leia trio thing. When you have a trio, you can have different interactions. You can have, I think, was like 6 or so different interactions. You have the 3 interacting with each other individually, like as duos, and you have them as a trio interacting together. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4 basic types of interactions that you can have, and each of them with their different personalities brings something different. And this is one of the reasons why trios work so well when you're writing a story, because you have a good amount of interactions that you can use with these characters. Instead of having 2 characters talking to each other or being alone, you have 3 characters. I don't have 3 hands. You have 3 characters, and 2 of them can talk to each other, the other 2 can talk to each other, and the other 2 can talk to each other, and then they can all talk to each other as a trio. And you have several different interactions that you can have, and with each of their different personalities, they can bring out something different in a conversation. I talked about Bruce and Clark. Bruce and Clark are great, and this is one of the reasons why their friendship is so great, is because you have 2 guys who are, like, opposed on their views of the world. You have Bruce's cynicism versus Clark's optimism. You have Bruce's, nitty-gritty vigilanteism versus Clark's, vigilanteism, but he's doing it in a way that's like, I'm here to help the people. And Bruce is like, I strike fear to the hearts of criminals. And they interact in the way they interact with each other, and it's sort of like Tony Stark and Steve Rogers. They are going to bump heads because they are opposed, personality wise in some things. But they still come together and team up. Bruce and Diana, it's funny because Diana is not normal human, and depending on the continuity, which is why it could be confusing to talk about Wonder Woman, since when I try to look into her character, I get a dozen different backstories, and it can be a little difficult to talk about that when what backstory are we going with. But when Bruce and you have one Diana and my mind's not working right now. You have Bruce and Diana are both more, in a way, logical people. She is a warrior. She is a fighter, as is he. She is, tactical, as is he, and probably he's one of the most tactical people there. Because he has to be, in order to compensate for not having these powers. If you can't outfight your opponent, you need to outsmart your opponent, and that's something Bruce does. When you have Diana and Clark, you have two people who are pretty much alien to the world, but Clark has lived on Earth. He, for all intents and purposes, is human. I mean, even though he biologically is not human, he's Kryptonian. He can still relate to Diana on the fact of being foreign, but in a way, he's a medium. And this is actually a great way if you consider, he's just something of a medium between Diana and Bruce. Bruce is obviously human. She is, in ways, inhuman. She doesn't understand, or like when she first comes in, she doesn't understand Earth culture as well. And Clark is a medium, and Clark can be a medium in a lot of different situations between humans and aliens, Amazonians, all sorts of different ways. And this is one of the reasons why they work so well as a team. They each bring to the table something different, And whenever someone has a lack of they make up for each other's flaws. That's what I'm trying to say. And they, strengthen each other's strengths. Clark, he's incredibly powerful, and he's not stupid. Don't get me wrong. Clark is a smart guy, but he's not the tactical genius that Batman is, and he's not the tactical mind of Wonder Woman, who's a born warrior. And so when he has a fault in that, they bring it up. Bruce is a genius, but he doesn't have the physical strength. He can't go up and fist fight with, Darkseid or something like that. But Clark and Diana can bring up that strength and help him. And Diana may not be, in ways, well versed in some things, but Clark and Bruce are, and and when she might be thinking purely as a warrior, you have Clark looking at it from the human perspective, and then you have Bruce thinking something cynicism. And Diana is more she in a way is also a middle ground between the cynicism and the Clark, what am I saying? Oh my gosh. The cynicism of Bruce and the optimism of Clark. Because she's not overly optimistic and she's not overly cynical. She's more realist. And that's one of the things, they become these like they can each become a middle ground for the other two, and they can each bring up when others the others falter. And this is one of the reasons why they work so well as a team. There's a talk about the body, the mind, and the spirit, where of course Bruce is the mind, Clark is the spirit, and Diana is the body. Where you have the physical strength that holds things together. You have the spirit, or in the heart, as like TV tropes would say, the heart, that holds things together, that brings people together, and people will form around them. Then you have the mind, who's the one who is the thinker, and and when you have that, they each form like one whole person. In ways they all work together individually, but they become so much stronger when they come together. And this is one of the reasons why I love Trio so much, is that you can have these three people each cover each other on their flaws and where they lack. Clark may be too optimistic to look at something realistically, and Bruce and Diana can hold it back and say, okay, wait, we need to think about this. This doesn't seem right. Bruce might be overly cynical on something, and he might refuse help, and then Clark and Diana be like, okay, no, we still need to think that this isn't automatically bad. And, Diana may not think of something as, in terms of, in the same ways that Clark and Bruce would. She might think a little bit too much like a warrior, and Clark can say, whoa, let's step back. And each time they have a fault, the others can bring them up. And this is what makes them, and I say teammates, but also family. Clark is someone who's willing to be family with people, and that's one of the reasons why he's such a great character. Is he was raised by such loving parents that he's willing to just, hey, let's be family. Bruce is a little bit different since he grew up with Alfred, but he grew up with the pain of having lost his parents, and he does form a family around him with the Bat family, almost without even really wanting to. And you have these other two people, and Wonder Woman isn't like, she comes from, a bunch of Amazons, so family is defined a little bit differently for her. So they each teach each other different things about family, and it's like, And as friends, sometimes you need friends to conflict with you, and sometimes you need friends to support you, and each of them are going to do that. And, no matter how cynical Bruce is, he cares about people so much, probably more than a lot of other heroes. He cares so much. That's why he dresses up as a bat and beats criminals up. He cares so much And this is how he expresses it. And, you know, he may not be good at expressing his feelings. You know, he may... And I believe, what was it, I think there was a story arc in Justice League where, you know, Superman died, and Bruce will not give up. He does not. He will not accept that Clark is dead. He will not. And, you know, despite his cynicism, he does have that twinge of optimism in him that he doesn't like to show because he lives in Gotham. And, you know, and he's not going to accept, he's not going to accept that death. You know, he's like, he's my friend. He can't die. And in a way, I think Bruce needs those people. Bruce needs all these family members, and that's why his Bat family is massive. And honestly, he needs that. He needs these people. As Tim Drake pointed out, you know, he needs someone, a Robin, and not just Robin, but other people there to help him to, you know, kind of rope him in and ground him a little. And Diana, she learns, how to have a non-Amazonian family with all these other heroes and other supporting characters of Wonder Woman. But, Justice League, the trio, the Trinity is the focus here. And they become friends and they become family, and I just love these surrogate families. Like, I love that. I mean, I talked about, I think in my Booker and Elizabeth video, I love, surrogate father-daughter relationships. And I do love surrogate families. I just love surrogate families. Because you have people who aren't related to each other at all come together and become a family. And then it also extends to the rest of the Justice League. And, you have other characters. Like Martian Manhunter, Flash, Green Lantern. All the Green Lanterns and Flashes. There are a bunch of them. And, it's so great to see. I love seeing these characters. And the Trinity, for me, is probably one of my favorite Trinities for in comics. Just because they're so great. They're so different in so many ways, and alike in a number of ways. And they cover each other, they help each other, they support each other. They will, tell each other when they're being stupid. They'll be family, they'll be friends, and then they are teammates. I have a lot of feelings on this, man. But yeah. And that's why they were, I mean, they make each other better. And that's why they work so well as a trio. They make each other better. And I think that's the key point here. So, yeah, I think I'm done with this one. I think I went a little bit longer than I intended to, but whatever. I go along in these videos all the time. So, if you have a topic you want me to talk about, if you're on YouTube, you can just comment below, what topic you want me to talk about. If you're on Tumblr, send me an ask, do topic, and then whatever topic you want me to talk about. Just make sure that it's a fictional topic. I don't want to talk about real world stuff. Something that I actually do know about. And if you aren't sure if I actually know about a franchise or something, ask. I will say yes or no, and how much I'm into it. And do remember to give me an actual topic to talk about, and don't just say, why do you like X, or what do you like about Y. And as always, remember to follow the rules, which I will be posting below in both, excuse me, keep doing that. I will be posting below in both YouTube and Tumblr. So, thank you for watching.